So the way Annette laid this out, I mean, not Annette, Natasha laid this out, is okay. I can understand it. She put the dialogue in and the time in and the time out all in one row. But the example I gave you for Nikki Wolfson showed that I put the ins and the outs in separate rows. So I don't know how well you guys know Microsoft Excel, but in this case, I'm just gonna, you don't, Natasha, you don't have to do this. You don't have to make all these changes, but I'm just gonna show you the preferred way of how I'd like to see this. So if I click on out here where 15 is, it highlights the entire row. And then if I click on insert, it's going to insert a blank row. In this case, it copied the yellow, the color from above. So I'm just going to go up and have no fill here. Okay. And by the way, the label of the first clip is always you just put in intro. So the timeout is 1 minute 45 seconds. And you don't need to have a success factor for the introduction. That's the only one that doesn't have a success factor. I'll just highlight that in yellow. Now, she has put the dialogue in and the dialogue out in one line of text separated by dots to let me know that after the dots is the dialogue out. But I'm going to change it. So in this first row, I'll take out the dialogue out. And this is because it's just easier for me to follow it this way. Okay. So now if I went to 053 or 53 seconds on the in the raw video file, this is where it should be starting roughly. And she's saying, I am Annette Insdorf, and then this is how she ends it. And by the way, another thing is to put lines around all the cells. Just going to show you real quickly. I'll highlight this space. You go up to this little icon up here. It gives you a bunch of different options, and one is all borders. So that maybe the reason this one didn't show. Let me see what happens here. Another thing is that when I think I have it set up automatically, but I'm not sure. When the text goes outside the cell, like in this case, if you click on wrap text, it'll automatically fit within the cell. Now you can see the borderline showed up. I could do the same thing with this whole line of text. If I just click on wrap text. I'm just going to do what I just did one more time, just to show you again. So I'm inserting up here, insert a row. I'm going to copy this text down here. I'm going to put the timeout here. Natasha, you don't have to go through and make all these fixes. I can follow what you did. I just want you to show you the preferred way of doing it. And you don't have to put this much text in either. You can just put the last few words of what they say.
I just figured I was trying to answer the question within what she was saying in the videos.
Yeah, and by the way, the other thing is that with these videos, you may find that even though when you see it, wait a minute, I'm having trouble multitasking here. Even though when you see it, oops, did I do that in the wrong place? Sorry. Maybe screwing up your thing here. I won't save this. So again, this is pretty big. Now, I've got the text wrapped, but if you want to be able to read it all, another thing you can do is go up to Format and Auto Fit Row Height. So then all the text will appear. The row will get a little bit taller. So when you're going through these, in some cases, you'll be looking at the raw video and question will just follow question, and whatever, excuse, whatever order we see everything in, that will be the order that we display it in WordPress on the website. But sometimes, like I did an interview yesterday with somebody named Catherine Mikesell, and it was a pretty long interview. We talked about a lot of stuff. I think we took like at least an hour and a half. And some of the things she said at the end of the interview applied to things she said in the middle of the interview. So when we're creating all these clips, we can reorganize them so the flow of the information makes sense, even though that's not the way the actual interview took place, because we're making multiple clips and we might have anywhere from 15 to 30 clips, and we can organize them any way we want to. Any questions about that? Okay, so I'm going to play this clip, and it starts at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. I'm going to make one up for you. I'm starting to record already. I'll just pull this over. So you can see down here, it says 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Fields. So one of the questions I ask everybody is, where did you grow up and what was your first awareness of film?
I was born in Paris.
Okay, so you can see she started roughly around when Natasha said she did. And you can see I was born in Paris. So actually, Natasha, all you had to say was I was born in Paris. That's enough. I mean, it's okay that you did all this other stuff, but this isn't a complaint. I'm just saying I'm saving some work for you. You can just, instead of trying to remember a whole sentence, you can just say, I was born in Paris. That's going to be enough for you when you go back to edit, that you're going to be able to figure out the exact starting point. And that's the key reason for the dialogue in and the dialogue out, to know exactly where the starting point is and the stopping point. Okay, so if I was reviewing this, I would do that, and then I'd go to 432, which is the endpoint.
I was in the English department, and I was asked to teach a seminar on the French New Wave, and that's how I got started officially.
Okay. So did I screw this up? So this says 432. The N words right there were, that's how I got started officially. Did I mess
Yeah,
up?
it's because I was basically, no, it's me. It's because I was trying to answer the question and just to keep what I thought was important inside the dialogue. And 432 is just like when the interview completely ended. That's how I put it.
So where does this text come in?
Probably maybe a few seconds before.
Before?
Maybe like mid, yeah, like maybe like 4 minutes or 3:30.
American fiction and nonfiction. And I basically went every night to the movies while studying for my PhD. And I was, again, quite fortunate because towards the end of my second year, people knew that I was basically pleading with my professors to let me write about film rather than just literature. I was in the English department, and I was asked to teach a seminar.
Never mind, that was way beforehand. So yeah, I was just trying to answer the question. That was my main focus.
But you ended it at 432.
Yeah, because I thought like I was putting it just as in, like, this is a snippet. This is when the question was began to be answered, and like when the question was completely ended.
Okay,
She was done giving her point.
I would say that generally speaking, and don't worry about this. I'm not supplying a heavy duty criticism here. I'm just saying, I'm just providing guidelines to hopefully make things easier for everybody, because it sounds like you might be overthinking this a little bit too much. I mean, you might be doing a better job than I want you to do, if you know what I mean by that. So what I generally say is when the person starts talking, that's when the question, that's the beginning of the dialogue you want to capture, except you want to make sure you don't have them saying, I think, or well, or, introductory words that a lot of people use almost like tics. Like one of my tics is I say the word so a lot. So when I'm interviewing somebody and they finish answering a question, I'm more than likely, my next word is going to be so, meaning given what you just said, and then I'm going to ask another question. But if I were editing myself, I'd take the word so out because I use it constantly. Anyway, so in this case, let's just play this through.
On the French New Wave, and that's how I got started officially.
Yeah, so I don't know what she said before, but it makes it easier for editing too if you wind up stopping it where they stop instead of stopping in the middle, because sometimes you have inflections in their tone when they're, their voice may rise up, or it might not be easy to end something before they stop talking because it doesn't sound quite right. It might sound more like you cut something off artificially. So I would be inclined, I just already forgot what you said here.
And I was, again, quite fortunate because towards the end of my second year, people knew that I was basically pleading with my professors to let me write about film rather than just literature. I was in the English department, and I was asked to teach a seminar on the French New Wave, and that's how I got started officially.
Okay, so I'm just going to put in here, and that's how I got started officially. So now, actually, let's listen to that whole clip because I'm going to review your selection of the success factor too.
The good grand concourse, and in Paris after World War II.
Wait a minute. What am I doing wrong here? No, this start. Wait a minute. It starts at. I'm reading the text one. Sorry. And what was your first awareness of film?
I was born in Paris. My parents were Polish Jewish Holocaust survivors who met in Paris after World War II. And we moved to the United States when I was 3.5. I lived in the Bronx and later in Forest Hills. The one constant wherever I lived, the good grand concourse, and then Forest Hills, and then New Haven, and then Manhattan, was the act of going to movies, which my father loved even more than my mother when I was a child. We went to the movies pretty much every weekend. And my mother did take me to Radio City Music Hall throughout my childhood. That made a deep impression on me, that big screen and the shared emotion in the darkness. The first film that I think I saw, because I associated it with the circus, it was probably, I'm never certain whether it was the greatest show on earth or Trapeze, but I know it was one of those two, because the association of spectacle on the screen and spectacle inside it was irrevocably made. And then I basically kept going to films for pleasure, and it was only when I was at Yale doing my PhD in English that I started taking films a lot more seriously. I was very fortunate because at that time, Yale had film societies, in the plural, run by students, showing movies every single night of the week. And this was long before DVDs or video or whatever. This was when they showed older films, classics, black and white, foreign and American, fiction and nonfiction. And I basically went every night to the movies while studying for my PhD. And I was, again, quite fortunate because towards the end of my second year, people knew that I was basically pleading with my professors to let me write about film rather than just literature. I was in the English department, and I was asked to teach a seminar on the French New Wave, and that's how I got started officially.
Okay. So then in picking a success factor, the thing with the success factors is they're subjective and up to a point. And, obviously I wouldn't say understands the business of art. That wouldn't be an appropriate success factor. You picked 12, which is empathy. I think she expresses empathy there, but the thing that stood out for me was that from a very early age, she got a rich exposure to film that most people don't have. And so I would pick exposure to broad influences for the first one. So I'm going to change that. Okay. So, all right. So that's how I would have edited the first entry here. And the other thing is where it says video clip number, put a number for each one that you're doing. Like the next one's going to be 2, etc. Because that number is going to go into the title of each video clip that you make. So when you look at any of our videos, Like you'll see this one says Frida Baranek 9. Frida Baranek. Just going to go back. Actually, I'll show this a different way. So when you make the video clips in Adobe Premiere, each one's going to have a title when you export it. And it's going to be the name of the person in upper and lower case and the number of the clip. So in this case, it's Victor Dupuy 1, Victor Dupuy 2, etc. So when you're making the video log, just put the numbers in here, because sometimes we will rearrange these, and instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it might go 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 7, 9, and then back to 6, etc., because we're rearranging the order of the clips so that the flow is better. All right, so I'm going to stop this for a second.